We are going to go into our first organization, which is the Whistler Museum and Archives Society. So we've got Bradley Nichols here, who's the executive director. I'm just going to add him. Brad, if you want to unmute yourself now, perfect. And go ahead and present.
All right. Hello, I'm Brad Nichols, the executive director and curator here at the Whistler Museum and Archives Society. If anyone's not familiar with our organization, our main mandate is to collect, preserve, document, and interpret the natural and human history of human life with an emphasis on Whistler, and to provide a forum in which to represent an innovative range of exhibitions and educational programs to enrich the lives of both guests and residents. The Whistler Museum's basic function is to collect and preserve the history of the Whistler Valley and to display, educate this information, as well as disseminate information about Whistler and its role in the greater society of British Columbia and Canada. To that end, the Whistler Museum collects and preserves artifacts, archives, and oral histories. To date, the Whistler Museum has acquired 53 linear meters of our archival records, including documents and photographs, and there are 4,500 artifacts in our collection, and 85 oral histories have been conducted, digitized, and transcribed. There are also approximately about 300,000 photographs in both negatives and prints, and about 150 hours of video, and 45.5 hours of film in 8mm and 16mm film. In order to make the museum's information easy to access, all this information is then organized, cataloged, and then digitized. Currently, our artifact collection is 99% cataloged, and 150 archival collections have been cataloged to date. We have also digitized about 48,000 photographs. The project that I'm bringing you today is specifically on oral histories. Oral histories help round out the story of the past. At times, an interview may serve as the only source of information available about a certain place, event, or person. Oral histories help us understand how individuals and communities experienced the forces of history. Oral histories have been described as a first kind of history. They're the passing on of knowledge, memory, and experience by both by word of mouth, and they can also take the form of stories passed from person to person to a formal interview about a particular event with someone that is recorded and kept in an archive as an historical resource. Oral histories are a way of gathering, recording, and preserving a diverse range of personal experience that generally are not well documented in written sources or traditional history within Western society. And the personal nature of these makes them a great primary resource for people wanting to discover more about a certain event or era and provide insight and the impact of those events had on the people alive and involved. The project that we're putting forward is over the next year is to conduct 50 oral history interviews and transcribe them. Each interview usually is about an hour. And with that gets recorded with prep time about 4 hours each, so about 200 hours to conduct the 50 interviews over the course of the year. We're looking at about one a week, and to transcribe about 1 hour of an oral history takes about 4 hours, so that's 200 hours. So the total cost at a rate of $26 an hour would be $10,400 to conduct this project. Oral histories are really important. Again, reaching out to people that there might not have been written about, and their experiences are just as important as any other person's experience. That could be from the Sikh population in Whistler. There might not be a lot of information about that group within the Whistler Museum or the broader Whistler society, and just understanding their experiences. And it's not just for contemporary right now. We would be documenting these for researchers 10 years down the road, 100 years down the road, 400 years down the road, of what life was like in Whistler. And this is an very important resource that helps both the museum now, but also future generations. Our oral histories are done using equipment like this that we can record in person. And we've also taught people about how to conduct oral histories, because some people, they might not feel comfortable with an outside someone coming to interview them. So we have in the past taught people how to conduct these as well. And then those oral histories have been donated to the museum, and they can put clause on, stipulations on them that they might not be able to become public record for 60 years. And we abide by that. And we transcribe these and archive these so they will be around forever. And I will finish up the presentation. Thank you for having me speak today, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Bradley.
Questions?
All right, Katie, take it away.
Thanks. If anybody has any questions for Brad, please drop them in the chat. But hi, Brad. Nice to see you.
See you.
I had a quick question to start us off. What are you looking at in terms of engagement with this project when it's done? How are you planning to bring the community into hearing these oral histories? Are you thinking that this could be something for the youth of Whistler or for our visitors? What are the plans?
I think it would both, to reach out to all kind of aspects and kind of have a broad spread of the people that we would reach out to for these interviews. And then we also take all these interviews and we dissect them and put out exhibits on particular subjects. We do a weekly story, museum musings, in the Peak every week, which is also posted on our blog. And that's just some of the ways that we've kind of put the information that we've gathered from oral histories out in the past.
Great. We've got a couple related questions in the chat. Do you already know who the 50 people are that you want to interview, and how do you decide who that is?
No, we have a small list, definitely not 50 people, but I think it's kind of like looking at the Whistler community, and the Whistler community is quite diverse. And are there voices that we haven't heard from that we would like to hear documented, and to tell their stories as well?
That's great. Let's see, a couple other questions here. Have you already contacted people to start this project with interviews, and are they politicians, athletes, business people?
Well, we've been ongoing doing oral histories kind of like passively over many years. And even some of our speaker series that we did last year on journalism or on the Whistler Pride Festival. And those are examples of recent ones that we've done. So they're kind of ongoing, but this is kind of just to get it to, like, get a start, get a program going that, okay, we'll do an oral history a week, and setting that precedent. So that's something that the museum can do going into the future as well. And we can kind of bake it into our program of, storytelling and collecting.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any opportunities for collaboration with the Squamish and Lillooet First Nations in terms of telling oral histories from that standpoint?
Oh, most certainly. Again, like the breadth of Whistler and all the different people's different experiences, and that would be one that most certainly we would like to address as well.
Yeah, great. Just a couple of comments for you. It'll be really interesting to see how many of these stories cross over in our tiny town. Sounds like an amazing project. That was from Sherry Baker. And then Liz Harris has noticed a big uptake in presence on social media, and she loves it. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Great job, Brad. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, our next organization we're going to hear from is AWARE, which is, I'm not sure if you know this, I always have to read it because I forget every time. It's the Association of Whistler Area Residents for the Environment. I've always just known it as AWARE, but I think it's important to say that. So I'm just going to grab Claire. Where are you, Claire? There you are. There we go. Unmute. And I'd like to introduce Claire Ruddy. She is the Executive Director of the AWARE program. So take it away, Claire.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. We also really just refer to it as AWARE because otherwise it's a real mouthful. As Ashley mentioned, I'm Claire Ruddy. I'm Executive Director with AWARE. AWARE was established, it's Whistler's environmental charity. It was established in 1989, and so 30 plus years ago, and our work is focused on conservation and climate action. Pre-COVID, we had 25 plus different community programs that we ran with a core team of 4 people. And that included everything from nature-focused summer camps to running Whistler's 4 community garden locations to in-school waste and climate action programs to helping businesses with their waste, as well as an annual calendar of events. So, and as well as all that community programming, we work to fill an important role in the community, giving nature a voice in local policy and decision-making through our advocacy work. Like so many nonprofits and everybody in town, our group and our programming and our operations was vastly changed by COVID. And as we navigated losses in many areas, what we also saw was a huge increase in need on our advocacy and education efforts as pressure on natural areas skyrocketed as nature was being recommended as a safe space that could offer varied activities and options for exercise, as well as being restorative to mental health. So as things start to return to normal, we would like to present to you the opportunity to support tonight and to kickstart a new program that celebrates and builds appreciation of our community's collective connection to nature by starting an annual nature-inspired photo contest and showdown. There are lots of environmental groups that run photo contests online, etc. And what we would like to do is build on these existing models and maximize the opportunities to build in learning, local connection, and a sense of place in the community. One of our goals with this would be to try to engage and connect with new audiences. And we see lots of ways to do this by building on and adding value to existing events and partnerships and designing this not as a singular event, but as an annual year-round nature engagement program. So what would this look like? So it would look like a launch of a nature photography contest in alignment with the Great Outdoor Festivals in spring. This is making the most of the fact that spring is when nature is full of new life, but also means that people can attend photography education sessions that GoFest already offers and connects with the contest with GoFest audiences. Social media promotions of the nature photography contest would take place through spring, summer, and fall, and will be focused on encouraging people to get outside and capture what they're seeing in nature. Doing this also gives us the chance to really build in some positive stewardship messaging, this idea of kind of take only photos, leave only footprints. The contest itself would be designed intentionally from the outset to connect with those who we're trying to reach and build nature appreciation with. For instance, by having youth categories, but also we might have photo categories that change. For example, we might focus on different habitat types each year, like alpine or our forests or waterways, or just do something fun like the best backstory to help community members share stories of nature adventures, regardless of whether the actual photos were really ended up good. We would be looking to hold the showdown itself in November with a similar format to the showdowns that we're all pretty familiar with in this town. Judges would pick winners across each category, but as mentioned, we want to use this as a learning opportunity. So we would have local ecologists and biologists speaking to some of the photos and images that have been submitted. These photos that get the scientists stoked might be a picture of a local endangered species or of an old growth forest grove or a little known everyday critter that we can use the event as a forum to actually build learning and talk about and give people more information about and explain why it's so interesting or exciting. We would also love to and seek to have members of the Squamish or Lilwat involved and speaking to images that connect with traditional practices or species origin stories and where they might be willing to share those. In addition to the spring, summer, fall contest engagement and photo showdown event, there are lots of linkages that we've already been exploring. For example, we're talking with Arts Whistler about a dedicated annual nature-inspired gallery show in the Moore Young Art Center, which ideally would be using and sharing photos from the proposed photo contest. And again, we'd be able to build in nature education right into and around that display. Someone on our team did in 2021 as a COVID project, created a nature-centered calendar, and she partnered seasonal images with fun nature messaging, like it's fall, bears are busy eating berries. If you're going hiking, remember your bear spray. And it was really well received, but the hardest part of it was actually getting images to put in there. So the pictures can be so compelling, but in our work to teach about or efforts to protect nature, we're often limited in the images that we have access to. This is one of the reasons why a lot of environmental groups host these kind of nature photo contests, is to be able to reserve the rights to use images in support of their work. And this approach would bring huge opportunity for us in engaging the community with Aware's work and the nature that surrounds us. So I mentioned that the plan here is to have this as an annual program. Should you choose to support this today, you would be providing seed funding. Clearly, there's hard costs relating to something like this. There's venue, technical staff, advertising, prizing, printing and framing of imagery for a gallery show, and there's time. So time to set up contests, categories, submission processes, to process submissions, to organize the actual events component. But once this is rolling, we can use the revenues from ticket sales, gallery sales, and calendars to do it again next year, with the goal that this program becomes self-funding and secure once we do the first one. I hope that what you can see is that we're trying to build something with lots of interlinkages, lots of different target audiences, and multiple target outcomes. But I want to close by bringing us back to our why here. And by sharing, I'm going to share a concept that is recognized as foundational in the nature education and protection field. And that is that people protect what they love. And in order to love something, you have to know it. You have to feel connected to it, and you have to understand it. Another saying that we hear frequently is that it's also said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what we would love to do is to bring these two truths together, and with your support, create this new program to celebrate and explore our collective connection with nature. Because if we truly value nature, we need more people engaged in and inspired to protect it. So I'm so grateful to have had your attention and for your consideration and for the opportunity to be here tonight alongside two other awesome groups. And I'd love to answer any questions people might have.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was amazing. I love this idea. That's neat. All right, Katie, do your thing.
Thanks. Just a reminder, if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat. Oh, and we've got one already. Education-wise, will photographers be taught to be respectful of the wildlife as part of this process?
Definitely. Yeah, we've had a program that we partnered with a number of different organizations on our eco-citizen videos, and that was all about wildlife and how to interact with wildlife or not interact with wildlife. So this gives us another opportunity to build that messaging into both the guidelines for how the competition runs, but also the ongoing public-facing engagement. That'll be an important part for us for sure.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a big project. How much more fundraising will you have to do to get it off the ground in year one, noting that it's going to be revenue self-sustaining in the future?
Yeah, so the first year will be the biggest, where we're actually setting up the actual contest framework and all of the branding and all of that sort of stuff. But once we get beyond that, we're pretty well versed with running events like this and programs that have quite a high level of complexity and interlinkages. So I think that we've already been talking to a number of the key partners that we would need to get involved in this in terms of the team at GoFest and Arts Whistler, and we're looking at kind of using the partnership model to really kind of help control costs.
Put me in that group. We have a lot of really talented photographers in town. I'm sure you've probably already thought of a few that you'll hit up to partner with on this, but are you going to be looking kind of regionally across BC or Western Canada to bring in any other noteworthy photographers?
I think we would definitely we'll use the partner network that we have to kind of work through the pros and cons on that. It would be really nice to, we want to make sure we have amateur and youth and categories as well as the really amazing photographers. So we really want to try to balance that. So it might be that regional is a broad enough scope. But we'll talk to the crew at Arts Whistler and the different partner organizations to figure that out.
Good.
Claire, do you think that you guys will have to bring on any extra staff or people to your team, or do you think, has your team discussed it and feel that they're confident that they can move forward with the partnerships in the team that you have now?
Yeah, so yes, we'd be looking at doing this with the existing team. What's happened on the back end for us is that a lot of our general ongoing programming that we ran in the community, we self-funded through our Zero Waste Heroes social enterprise. And that has been on hold, obviously, through COVID. So we lost that revenue source. So we've got like things that we would like to bring back in terms of our previously successful programming that we're just putting on pause. We don't have the cash flow to do them right now. So
Right.
This offers a really great opportunity to still be engaging community in a program with the team that we have, while we kind of are working through the summer and getting Zero Waste Heroes going again, and then we're kind of back to the model that we put a lot of time building to fund our programming prior to COVID.
And you're thinking of a launch when you said November, that's November 2022 or 2023?
2022.
Okay.
You did mention that it'll be self-funding in the future. Are you able to elaborate on that? So you mentioned calendar sales, ticket revenue. Do you think that that'll be enough to carry you through into future years?
Yeah, and gallery sales as well. So, you know, printed canvas in the model that the Arts Whistler already has. And again, when our Zero Waste Heroes program, what was great about that was that when we do have little gaps in funding for certain programs, we can bridge them. So it would be great to get this model going, and in the future we might be able to bring on something like sponsorship, but it's really hard to actually get programs like this going. Some people like to see something in action before they kind of commit to supporting it. So there's some alternative options moving forwards. It's really hard to get events like this rolling sometimes as a nonprofit if you don't have the cash flow to do it, because a lot of traditional funders events are normally outside of the funding parameters and all of that sort of thing. So this is why this is a great fit for this group potentially in terms of those funds being more flexible.
Great.
Amazing.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you so much, Claire. All right, so we are on to our last organization. So we are going to hear from the Rotary Club of Whistler. I'm looking for Miss Jill Forrester. There you are. All right. Let me introduce Jill. She is the president of the Rotary Club of Whistler and has been for a while, I believe. She can share that with you. So take it away, Jill.
Yeah, thank you. This is my second year as president of the Rotary Club. So it's been a busy, very, very busy couple of years, especially through COVID, trying to maintain fundraising for the commitments that we have annually, as well as for other commitments. What I'd like to do tonight, before I give you the details of our current project and how it came about, is just tell you a little bit more about the Rotary Club and about what I find its unique features, which is why I'm a Rotarian. It is a worldwide volunteer organization. It is non-political, and it is dedicated to service above self. It operates on all age levels. We have the Rotarians, which are mostly people over 30, and we have our Rotary Club of Whistler to do that. We have a Rotaract Club in the Sea to Sky corridor, which takes the 20 to 30-year-olds generally, and we have a club for that. Then we have the Interactors, who are in high school, and there is an Interact chapter run out of the Whistler High School, who are very active. Some of you may have participated in the bottle drive they just had, and they do quite a lot of other events. And then coming online now is the Early Actors, and that is elementary school children. And Pemberton Rotary Club has just started an Early Act Club within their elementary school to promote the service above self issue and have projects going with them, and it's running really well. We also run all sorts of things like Rotary Club's youth leadership programs. And, we canvass the schools for students who might be interested in going to youth leadership programs, which is completely funded by us. And of course, we do the exchange programs. We're currently funding a student who will be going over in September to Europe on a Rotary Youth Exchange. Rotarians raise funds for local and international projects. The thing that is so unique about Rotary fundraising is that every single dollar goes directly to the project or the charity. If we raise money for the food bank, every penny of that goes to the food bank. And the same with our other projects. We also donate money to what is called the Rotary Foundation. And some of us donate all the time. Sometimes we have specific events raising money for the foundation. The money that goes into the Rotary Foundation sits there for 3 years. And the interest from that money is what keeps all the infrastructure of Rotary going. At the end of the 3 years, that money comes back into the grants fund and is available for us to apply for grants from Rotary for our local and global projects. We just raised money for the food bank. We bought a $12,000 refrigeration unit. We had the official presentation to Jackie Dickinson last night at the Rotary Club, and we raised $12,000 for that refrigeration unit. $9,000 was from our events and community donations, and the other $3,000 was from a district grant that we got for that. Rotary projects focus on all sorts of things: health, sanitation, mental health, medical projects, fighting hunger, education, peace, a wide range of humanitarian activities. One of the most successful activities of the Rotary International over the years since the 1950s has been the eradication of polio. We are all from first world countries, or most of us most likely are, where our governments provide free polio vaccination. But the third world countries do not have programs like this. And this is where Rotary has stepped in over many, many years and vaccinated the children in third world countries. Currently, there are only a few live virus cases happening, and they're in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Fortunately, Rotary have been able to negotiate with the Afghani government as it is now, and they are still allowing Rotarians in to vaccinate the children. But it is something that is going to have to go on and on forever, this vaccinating of third world children against polio. An interesting thing about this is that every dollar that you donate to polio gets tripled. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation give $2 for every $1 that we raise. 18 months ago, beginning of COVID, we had a biker-thon fundraiser. It was an online thing and a fundraiser, and we raised $16,000. So that became $58,000 with the money from the Bill and Gates Melinda Foundation. So that was a big success. The Rotary Club of Whistler gives annually to scholarships to high school students. We support the Skatine school up on Lillooet Lake. We support 2 mothers in Bangladesh who run a homeschool from their homes. We support education programs called Project Amigo in Mexico. And then we do all sorts of donations, turn my page over, of things. We give money to shelter, if there's a tsunami anywhere or a disaster, we buy shelter boxes, water filters, anything that's needed that we have the money for, we buy. We raised $100,000 for the hospice in Squamish, which is, providing an amazing resource and service to the community. We raised $10,000 for the Wonder Lab at the library. We bought bunks for the Keys and Clare Hut. And last night, we also gave money to the soccer club from our hot dog days that we had in the fall. If you had soccer kids, you may have had some of our hot dogs then. But Rotarians don't just like to raise money and give it to things. We also like to build and do things and be involved. If it's an overseas project, we might be planting trees, digging wells, training people, teaching English, all sorts of things. Here in Whistler, we have built a lot of things. And you may see the typical Rotary wheel on quite a few things if you look up in the rafters and look around corners. We've built bus shelters. We built the Rainbow Park picnic shelter, which gets used a lot. We put in the ancient cedar trail and the seating up there and the signage. We built the scout cabin. We have built interpretive signs all over the place. And when you sit in one of those Adirondack chairs in Olympic Plaza, each one of those was handmade by a member of the Rotary Club of Whistler. So we have done all sorts of things. We currently have 2 projects. One which we've just started is a big international, big global project for a foster home, a temporary foster home in Mexico. But the Rotary Club of Whistler has its own local project of a viewing platform over Miller's Creek wetlands. This came about because the members wanted to do something. They love raising money and giving it to charities and all sorts of things like that. But they wanted to get out there and get dirty and get their hands dirty and get social and build something again. And we had quite a few ideas, but it was the viewing platform over the wetlands that was the winner. So these are quite a unique wetlands, and they're very interesting, and you get absolutely fantastic views from where this platform is going to be. And it's going to be a cantilevered platform out over the stream and out over the wetlands. The municipality are drawing up all the plans so that they will meet safety standards, and they will also oversee the building to make sure that we are building it to standards. We hope to be able to start it as soon as the land thaws, and we'll start building. We have already raised $7,000 for this project from our events, some of our events that we've been having. We've been having all sorts of Zoom events, painting pictures and making martinis and things on Zoom that have had silent auctions and raffles and things associated with them. So we've raised out $7,000 already. So a donation from 100 women would ensure that we could immediately go out and buy everything that we need and definitely complete this project well into the summer of this year. And it shouldn't take us too long to build it. So it would mean that we would definitely be able to do it. And it will also have associated signs on it explaining about the wetland, the habitat, and all the wildlife and vegetation that's there in those wetlands. And of course, were it to come to fruition with the help of 100 women, it would also have a plaque recognizing the 100 Women chapter of Whistler. At the same time, I'd like to, you've heard a little bit about how Rotary works and what we do. And if anybody is interested in becoming a friend of the club, which means you just get a newsletter and you're welcome to come to any of our meetings, hear our speakers, join in our projects, or if you may even like to be a member eventually, are in the community notices in every peak, there is the little bit showing the advert for the Rotary Club and giving our email address. So thank you very, very much for listening to me. And I hope that you can support our viewing platform and a whole lot of Rotarians getting out there, getting dirty and digging holes and erecting a platform this summer. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Jill. All right, Katie.
Thank you, Jill. That sounds like a fun project. Lots of nature-based projects today. For those of us who don't know where Miller's Pond is, where is this viewing platform going to go?
You know that the municipality have just surfaced the trail between along the railway line from Alta Lake Road right through to Function. It was just a rough trail, and they've widened it and surfaced it to make it part of the Valley Trail system. And it's also a evacuation road. So it gives us another route from Alpine right down to Function where there to be some kind of disaster. So that was why they've spent so much money and time enhancing. It's a beautiful walk through there. You can park at both ends and walk through. And the actual, I don't know if I could screen share. I do have a little picture of where it's going to be. But if you're walking from Nita Lake entrance along the trail, as soon as you come to an orange building on your right, which is the very, very last building in Function, as you're coming north, and turn around and look out, you will see where it's going to be. It's marked by 2 great big logs sitting at an angle, and there is a little stick sticking out of the ground that's white and yellow. And it's going to look right out over the wetlands and up to the mountains to Whistler and Blackcomb. So that's where it is, yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Hopefully that answered Mel's question about where exactly it will be. I feel like there's some historical significance for Millar's Pond. Was there some heritage kind of anything there? Or are you just looking at nature-based viewing platform? Or maybe Brad can jump in and answer that.
I'm a new Whistlerite. I haven't been here that long to know about ancient history of that. I know that there's a little bit of history about the land there, and some of the land is privately owned, and it's got that the bike ramps and everything, the rolling ramps that people have built, because the guy who owns it doesn't mind them building all that stuff on his land there. That rollerblade park or skateboard park is what I want to say, skateboard park. But this is just a little bit more north of that. So we're away from the skateboard park. And yeah, but it's a very unique wetland there. It's very beautiful in summer. And it has to be a viewing platform that's raised up. I mean, at the moment you can see everything because all the bushes are under snow. But when it's summer, you have to have the platform at least 6 foot high so you can see out over the vegetation. Otherwise, there's no view.
Yeah. Christy would love to know how many people will be involved in the construction.
As many as want to turn up. I mean, we've got 26 members, but not all are actually fit for digging holes. But also we have a whole load of other contacts and friends who all want to come and help. So anybody is welcome to come and help, and we'll be promoting that as well. But yeah, I mean, we have people in the know who know how to do things, who will be able to tell everybody else how to do things. And as I said, the Muni will be supervising it so that they make sure that we get everything right. We have a lot of people who are builders and in constructions and things, but all the construction will be volunteer construction, yeah.
Great. And you mentioned that you've already raised $7,000 already, and then this $10,000 donation, if you were to receive it tonight, would that close the full gap in budget?
Yes.
Or
yeah, because we're hoping that, you know, when we go around the timber merchants, once we get the plans, we can start doing the final details of the costing, and we can start going to the timber merchants and sweet talking them into giving us a good deal. They usually do.
Good. Great. And then just one last comment, being a community focused on the mountains, it's really nice to see attention being brought to the wetlands area. So some thanks from one of our members.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you.
All right. So those are our 3 organizations this evening. Thank you to everybody for presenting. I'm just going to do a quick overview, and then I'm going to pop up our poll. I'm just going to take Katie and Courtney off so they can vote. There we go. So I just asked for Brad and Jill. Please don't put forth a vote. And then Claire, I think as well. I can't remember. Claire, you popped on there, didn't you? Yeah. So we've got our Whistler Museum and Archives Society, and they are asking for funds to promote their oral history project. They're looking for 50 interviews to kind of bring all sides of Whistler forward and preserve that for generations to come, all sides of the story. We've got Aware asking for a nature-inspired photo contest and showdown, a big project to start this year that will then go annually forward and hopefully bring in sponsors once that initial project happens. The main reason for wanting this event to happen is to start pushing advocacy and just getting involvement from the community. The more you're involved with the environment, the more you know, such and so forth. And then our last one from the Rotary Club of Whistler, they are looking for the last bit of funding to build the Millar Creek Wetlands viewing platform. All right, so I'm going to pop up our poll here. Dun, dun, dun. I will give it a minute. And then when we finish the poll, I'm not going to announce the results just yet. We do have Melissa. She was stuck in traffic. Thank you, Melissa, for braving that and making it to us. And I'll have her speak to the donation that they received in past after we finish this. So I'll launch the poll for 2 minutes or so, okay? The last two members. I believe that that should be everyone, myself, Jill, and Bradley not voting. So I will have a look. And so, ladies and gentlemen, wow, tonight it's just knocking it out of the park. We actually have a tie for the first time ever, just because it's our last one and why not? So what I'm going to do is, I feel like this, it says that I can edit it, but I don't think I can. I'm going to try to create a new poll here. Sorry, guys, just bear with me. Go. Oh. Make sure I get the right one. Right here. Okay, so tiebreaker vote, save. Let's see if that will allow me to bring up a new poll. Tiebreaker vote. Okay, I'm going to launch the new poll here. So there are only 2 organizations to vote for. So redoing this, go ahead. Then one more, we're close. This is a tough one. I don't think we've ever had all 3 this close. Okay, 48, 49. There should be one more. There we go. 49, 50. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. There we go. And I am going to find Melissa in this maze of people. There you are. Okay. All right. So this is Melissa, and she works with the Kelty Patrick Dennehy Foundation. As I said before, we donated to them in September of 2020. Melissa, just share with us how that donation went and how the project went.
Great. Thanks very much for that, Ashley. First of all, my apologies for running late tonight. I got the call late this afternoon from Ginny. Could I cover for her this evening? She's not feeling very well today, and I was at the airport at the time. So just rushed back into town now. So glad to be with you. So just to bring everyone up to speed on what's happened with the funding that we requested and from the amazing people at the 100 Women of Whistler, and we were very lucky to be honoured with that money. I should probably take a step back for those who aren't aware of the Kelty Patrick Dennehy Foundation. It's been an organisation that's been in, it's a local community foundation that is working to help improve depression and prevent suicide in young people. Kerry and Jenny Dennehy lost their son many years ago now, and they took it as their life challenge to help prevent that in future. Anyway, what they had originally requested the money for was they had built a website that provided online support for people and to work that could be used with other medical professionals. And so instead of people needing to go into a doctor's office, they were actually able to do this online. And they did that with the BC Children's Hospital. And the one thing they always felt that was missing was the marketing around it and getting the information out there. And then coincidentally, COVID came along, and they found out that the Whistler Blackcomb Foundation was also doing a lot of work in this area. And they said, well, let's actually join forces with them and help put together something that everyone in the community could benefit from, rather than doing their own thing on the side. So what they actually ended up doing is they worked very closely with Amy Buchanan and May Madden. I think May might be on the call tonight, at the Whistler Blackcomb Foundation, and joined forces there. And May and Amy were working on the cedarsky.safetynet.com. So if you're not familiar with that website, it's a fantastic website. It's cedarsky.safetynet.com. And it was built as an online resource hub of self-care tools and local services to help connect people to mental health and substance use support. And the idea of it was to break down barriers, foster resilience, and let the community, so the Whistler, Cedar Sky, Squamish, Pemberton communities, know that there are people and professionals who are on their side. So what they put together this with the funding that we received from the 100 Women of Whistler was a short 3-minute video to build awareness. It's a fantastic video. It really hits home to everyone. For instance, 1 in 3 people in our community will need mental health support at some point, and 50% of those people won't be able to receive that because they just don't know where to go to get the help they need. So it's really trying to help break down those barriers. So the video was built, and there's some cameos in there, like the lovely Jackie Dickinson, which I'm sure you all know at the Whistler Community Services. There was also advertisements in the Peak and Squamish Chief announcing this website, making people aware of it. Press release was done. It was put out to the Cedar Sky corridor in all the key locations. They also created various posters in different sizes, and also full little full-color contact cards, like postcards, that could be used at health and wellness events, staff orientations, etc. And then obviously anyone who didn't have full printing capabilities in their office, that was also provided to them. So the idea was to provide useful tools in people's everyday work, and so that they could support others, help get those conversations going, getting people to share the information with their friends, co-workers and clients. And so I think it's really been the first time that I've ever actually been able to say to people, hey, do you know about this? And they're like, oh yeah, I saw the poster and I was in my doctor's office. Or, oh yeah, I heard about that. I heard about it on Mountain FM. Or, hey, yeah, I saw the information in the Peak. And so that was really what we wanted to do, was not just create another website, but help join forces with the Whistler Blackcomb Foundation and really get the news out there. And I think we've managed to do that, and we couldn't have done it without the 100 Women of Whistler. And did I lose everyone, or am I still
No,
there?
sorry, that was me. I was listening to you and I was like, oh wait, I have to talk.
That's okay. I thought, oh, I hope I didn't lose everyone and
No,
sleep on me.
that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I agree with you. There's not many people that I would run into that didn't know something about this campaign. So I think success on that front for sure.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So,
And what I'm just going to do is, if that's okay, I'll just put the link in. A couple of people mentioned it in the chat. So I'm just going to put that website in the chat there for people.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that was definitely our closest vote that we have ever had, and there with a tie and then needing a tiebreaker. But majority has spoken just. And tonight, our winner of $10,300 is going to be, drum roll, please. Here we go. Whistler Museum and Archives Society. Boo-boo! Walking on the moon.
Well, thank you very much to the to your organization. I was so pleasantly surprised when you reached out to us last week, and we were kind of developing this, and this just kind of, it worked out. It's serendipitous. All the other causes were extraordinarily great, but thank you for choosing the museum. It'll make a great impact in kind of the community's knowledge of our community.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you again to our other presenters. Tonight was a very difficult decision. It's always the hardest part of the job for sure. So thank you for coming and sharing with us about your projects. I hope we can move them forward or help you move them forward in some other way.